Well, good afternoon, everybody. This afternoon we have Frank McCaughey, who is going to be talking to us about his experiences at St. Joe's and about how the church has evolved, especially in respect to the LGBT community. So without further ado, Frank, thank you for coming and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Great, yes.
And let's start off by asking you, when did you first start coming to St. Joe's?
In 1989, at that time my life situation was changing and I wanted to join a Christian community where I could participate while being honest about the fact that I am a gay man. So I mean,
And that's when you started your journey at St. Joe's.
right, yeah.
And why did you decide on St. Joe's?
Well, I contacted Dignity Canada, which is an association of gays and lesbian Catholics. And they said that they came here to worship and had brunch afterwards, so I decided to try it out, and I came and I stayed. So it's good.
Now, the Catholic Church has not always been welcoming to the LGBT community, and especially when they're attending Mass. So what happened at St. Joe's that was so different from your perspective as to why St. Joe's was different from so many other Catholic churches?
Okay. Well, I mean, the Catholic Church for a while did minister to gays and lesbians. They used to have services at what used to be Crystal Roy Parish on Argyle Street, where dignity was welcome. But in October of 1986, Cardinal Ratzinger, as head of the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith, issued a letter saying that this is inconsistent, so this should be stopped. Okay, a lot of parishes did stop. Some, like St. Joe's in Toronto, you had Our Lady of Lourdes Parish, and in Montreal you had Saint Pierre Apôtre, who did continue to have, well, not opening and affirming parishes, but they welcomed gay people. Now, trying to figure out why, well, I guess every bishop is responsible for everybody, and so maybe they choose downtown parishes. Or maybe, on the other hand, since two of the things I mentioned were oblate parishes, maybe it's the oblate charism, evangelizing the poor.
Mm-hmm.
So some parishes, for example, St. Elizabeth in the West End, took the opposite approach, and they hosted Courage, which is basically trying to reform the LGBT community. So
Different perspective.
different perspective entirely, and yes.
I recall back in the 90s and early 2000s that St. Joe's was subject of criticism for its acceptance of the LGBT community. Did you find that the parish community at St. Joe's react negatively towards you during that time period? Or towards the community?
Definitely not. I mean, both the clergy and the congregation were quite welcome. There were outsiders. The people that used to go to St. Bridget's would come around here and hand out pamphlets. They said they're a new Catholic organization. And people were phoning up and asking when the gay mass was, trying to, I guess, put St. Joe's into a bad light. But no, here it was great. And when we started having pride services, it was not just the gay community, you want to call them allies or whatever, but a whole lot of people were bringing in cakes and that sort of thing, and decorated with the rainbow flag. And this is ordinary parishioners who probably didn't know a gay person as such. So no, it's definitely been a welcoming parish, which is why I stayed, of course.
I remember back in those days, Father Jerry Morris was here, and they got a letter and a phone call at the front office about when was the gay mass. And to say the least, he was flipping mad. And he gave a sermon that Sunday, and he was shocked by the fact that Catholic people could treat other Catholic people this way. So so he sent the message out. This is not acceptable, and it certainly is not going to be accepted.
Oh no, that's great support, and I mean it doesn't take much to turn people off.
Yeah.
But having somebody support, like for example, in the sermons today, whenever there's a mention of the people that are being oppressed, I mean the LGBTQ people are mentioned as one minority group that needs support. So yeah, I definitely feel the parish has my back. So that's
Super. That's good to hear. Now, several of the Christian churches were more accepting of the LGBT community. Did St. Joe's learn from those activities?
Oh, definitely. I mean, well, while in Dignity, I mean, other parishes also, other churches also didn't treat the LGBT community well. So Dignity became a little ecumenical, and you heard where people were welcome and people were not welcome. Downtown parishes like St. John the Evangelist, Anglican, and First United were very supportive. And so we sort of tried to learn from them to a large extent.
And any particular lessons that we picked up in them that you recall?
Well, yeah, sorry. Okay. The St. John's had decided to do something about the fact of people not being welcomed or people sort of not participating, and they decided to have a session called Opening the Doors to Gays and Lesbians. And they invited people from all the various traditions. At the time, I was asked to be the delegate from St. Joe's. I was the only Roman Catholic involved. There are even Seventh-day Adventists, and they apparently are a little less welcoming of the LGBT community. So we had a session. Another parishioner from St. Joe's, Jeremiah Bertram, was asked by the organizing committee to respond to the keynote address. I had a role as I chaired a working group, and basically the purpose was all the people hanging at the back of the church who were gays, didn't want to admit it, didn't fully participate because they felt they would not be welcome. How these people can be integrated into the activities of the church. So that was definitely a heads up for all the communities, so right.
And at St. Joe's, we had a lot of gay people involved in our administration. You know, because we've had a pastoral associate, Deirdre, who was here for 3 years, and we've had Jeremiah, who was actively involved in the administration of the parish when Father Fred McGee was around. So, and we've had chairs of the parish council.
Well, me for one.
Yeah, but more than one.
Definitely, no, that's it. I feel fully integrated into the parish. That's great, yeah.
And what do you think about the parish's participation in the parade?
That's great. In other words, we're the only Roman Catholic parish to participate in the parades. For obvious reasons, we go not as St. Joe's Parish, but parishioners from St. Joe's. Yeah. And we're about the only Christian tradition that the clergy do not participate. So I guess we're keeping our heads low to a certain extent. We want to be there. And by the way, we even participated as the only Roman Catholic parish at the World Pride in Toronto several years ago. So I mean, all the other traditions and one Roman Catholic group, yeah.
But at least we have one Catholic church participating.
Yes, well, yeah.
Yeah, I just check my notes here. Your life in the parish, Frank, as you look back over 30 years at St. Joe's, how would you qualify it? Did you meet your Christian responsibilities, your Christian focus?
Yeah, well, what we, as a parishioner, yes. Also, we tried to integrate the gay community as a result of this opening the door more fully into the parish. In other words, the Catholic Church did have a bad reputation in the gay community. In other words, people making jokes about that sort of thing. So what we tried to do was make this be seen in the gay community as a welcoming place. Now, we noted that Our Lady of Lourdes in Toronto had been holding AIDS services healing services for people with AIDS. Now, Our Lady of Lourdes is surrounded by hospitals, so they have a large AIDS community. We do not here. So we decided to have a healing service for all people. Okay, that's here. Now then, to get the gay community to feel safe in coming, first of all, we advertised in all the downtown like grocery stores, the AIDS Committee of Ottawa, and because St. John's and First United had street creds, we asked the pastors of those two churches to come in and alternately conduct the services. So in other words, we could advertise that your friend, the pastor of First United, will be conducting a service at St. Joe's. So that was one thing. The services continued for a couple of years, okay? The next thing we tried to do, well, Jeremiah Bartram had the idea of having a discussion group where gays and lesbians and the straight people could meet to discuss not homosexuality, but their faith concerns, discuss scripture. So he asked the parish council to set up a community, a committee, rather a group. There was no response. Okay, so we were having parish council elections. I chugged in and ran and got elected and brought up a parish council. Immediately it was approved. So Jerry came. He ran this discussion group for about 3 years. Then when he left, Sister Marianne Franker and myself continued holding this thing. So that was another session where the idea you have to introduce the gays and the straights together so that neither group has horns.
Yep.
Okay. So that was the second thing. Okay. The pride services we started. Initially we didn't want to step on the toes of St. John the Evangelist. They had a pride Eucharist so we had on Sunday. So we had a service on Friday. But then one of our pastors here said, well, why not have a Mass as part of Pride here on a Sunday? Which was a great idea because that's when the majority of the parishioners coming to that Mass saw all the banners and brought the cakes and could participate. And as the lady you were talking to just a few minutes ago, feel that they are participating in the welcoming of the gay community into St. Joe's. That was very interesting. Yeah, also sort of an oddball thing that this Opening the Doors committee continued, but sort of morphed. And they had a second session which was less well attended, and the various other Christian traditions gradually dropped out. So pretty soon it was me, the Roman Catholic, and then members from the various Anglican parishes, All Saints Sandy Hill, All Saints Westboro. Okay, and then gradually those people started going to St. John the Evangelist. So there was St. John the Evangelist and me. Okay. Peter Coffin was elected bishop, and he said, "Oh, this group is very interesting, but let's make it into a diocesan committee in caring for gays and lesbians." So I chugged along and took part. And I was still a member of parish council at the time, so when it came time that we were asking for funding, I got parish council to agree to fund. So now you have this Anglican diocesan task group, all these Anglican parishes, and St. Joe's. We got a copy of the book. I don't know where it is, but it's so that I think we're fully integrated and pretty well respected for that respect.
Super. And yourself? How do you feel?
Okay, well, I'm 80 years old. I just had a mobility type accident, so yeah, no, this is definitely my home parish. And no, I was away for 3 years. My partner got posted to Barbados, but I kept my contributions going here, and when I ever was back, I came here. So this is home.
Super. Any final words, Frank?
No, I'm glad that this parish exists. I'm glad of what it's doing, and I'm trying to support it with what abilities I have.
You're doing very well, Frank.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming in today.
Okay.